Hello everyone, Andrew here, and it is once again time for pickups. I have some box stuff, games, accessories, the usual. It's it always ends up, like there's a mix of everything, which I think is cool. And it's like I could do, a pickup video like every week, but then it would just be, a little fraction of this. So again, like I've said many times, I think it's fun to kind of, build it up a little bit, and then kind of just do it all in one epic thing. Because there was a time where, I would find enough stuff every week for it to be, about this amount. Like, people ask me, sometimes, like, how did you get so much? That's because back in the earlier days of my collecting, like 7 or 6 years ago, like, I could walk into a thrift store and walk out with, like, a mountain of stuff for, like, $20, because back in those days, there were a lot of factors that were different. There was the fact that there definitely wasn't as much competition. Retro gaming has taken off massively in the last few years, what I think is great, because I think it's awesome for a lot of new people to get into that. But at the same time, it means a lot of people are seeing people such as myself on YouTube who now, like, I go around the thrift stores and other people get that idea, and then they're going around. And there's also the resellers who just get it to sell it instantly on eBay and aren't interested in the collecting part of it at all. And then there's also the fact that people just don't donate as much these days, and the fact that thrift stores have gotten wise now, and they're like, oh, video games, they're a hot commodity, let's raise the price on them. So you get, like, you see, like, $8 Xbox and PS2 sports games these days, while, back then, they didn't realize that, video games were this massive, expensive, popular thing. So you'd get them for, like, 99 cents or a dollar or two, along with the CDs and VHSs, because they weren't smart enough to separate them. But anyway, that is a gigantic diversion, and I will get into that. I plan to talk more about that when I do my Q&A video in the near future, I promise. But I did have a decent stack of pickups here, so I wanted to get into that, and hopefully, you're stuck around. You're like, Andrew rambled on too much, so I'm going to close the video immediately. But no, let's jump into it. Number one item on the list of items is Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, the Ubisoft version. Now, yeah, my camera, it's another thing we'll talk about in the near future. It doesn't automatically focus in on things. But there are actually two versions of this game on the NES. There's the Ubisoft version, and there's the Taito version. And they are both completely different games, despite the fact that their front art is almost exactly the same. Now, since it does not focus automatically, we will do it the Andrew way. So this is the version I just got, and as you can see, you have a Ubisoft logo down there, but otherwise, the logos are pretty much exactly, or the labels are pretty much exactly the same, with the exception of the company that made it. And yeah, even though the labels are that similar, the games are actually completely different, and the Ubisoft one is much harder to find than the Taito one. Yeah, I'm getting that correct. Yeah, the Ubisoft one is more difficult to get your hands on. And actually, neither of them are fantastic games, although I might prefer the Taito one over the Ubisoft one in the little bit I've played of it since I picked it up. I don't know, it's bizarre. Why are there two different Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade games with the exact same label, but they were made by different companies? I don't know. Is there a backstory behind that? Did, like, one of them get the rights, but then the other one somehow also got the rights, and they had to have, like, an epic battle to the death over who had to make it? I don't know exactly how it works. If anyone knows that, I should have looked that up before I started the video. That's actually something I've just never come across in my video game research. But anyway, I finally got that, and they are considered different games, because, I mean, the games actually are, completely different. It's not just, a label variant. Like, there are, sometimes if it's, a game I don't think I can, get much value for if I traded it, or something like that, and it has a little bit of a label variant, or like it's a 5-screw one instead of a 3-screw one, I'll hang on to that. But in this case, they are actually considered different games, like, on the list of that, like, of NES games you have to collect. So, it's a really funny thing to get my hands on those, and we're gonna go off on a little bit of a, divergent thing again, to talk about the other Indiana Jones games on the NES. There are two Temple of Doom games as well. I don't know why Indiana Jones on the NES had to have this massive identity crisis. Now, the really, really stupid thing is, despite the fact that these two games look a lot more different than the two Last Crusade ones do, these games are actually exactly the same, despite the different looks. So, I don't know. Indiana Jones makes no sense on the NES. But yeah, also, these are not new, but I just thought, it's funny to point out that Indiana Jones had this massive problem of every game having two versions, and the fact that these two look completely different and they're the same game, and these two look the same and they're different games. I don't know. It hurts your head to think about. It's one of those, mysteries of life that if you contemplate it too long, your head will probably explode. So before that happens, the next item on our list are two Game & Watches. Which is, I love Game & Watches. I've been finding them like mad recently. And I have no problem with that because they're super cool, and these ones are really cool games as well, and they're in very nice condition. Now, let me bring the footrest over here in case I drop them, because that would not be good. The first one is Gold Cliff. Now, I might have to zoom in because Andrew's camera is a thing. I like people getting good views of the thing. I hope people don't, mind. Andrew's videos aren't professional, but, I hope they're fun, and that's all that really counts. But Gold Cliff is a cool game where you climb up from the bottom to get the treasure at the top, and that repeats multiple times until you don't feel like playing anymore. Because, Game & Watch games pretty much go on forever. Gold Cliff, though, does have a continue button, which is rare for Game & Watches, because it does progress through different levels. The platforms will appear in different places that you need to jump on to get to the top. So if you lose, you can actually press that continue button and continue from where you left off. Not many Game & Watches are like that, because, they're usually just kind of repetitive games that get a little bit more difficult, but this game actually has levels, which is really neat. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that. Gold Cliff is a pretty cool game, although I take the batteries out when I'm not playing them, because otherwise they don't turn off. Because, the clock is always going and stuff, so I save my batteries, and I just usually put the batteries in whichever Game & Watch game I'm playing at the moment. The second game that I got was Bomb Sweeper, and despite the very similar name, it's actually nothing like Minesweeper, on your Microsoft Windows. And this one is complete in the box, and it is in very nice shape. Has the styrofoam and everything in there. And this is another kind of footrest. Another kind of double screen one, and we'll zoom in on this one as well, because I think Game & Watches are a cool thing to have a look at. It's hard to go out there on the internet, get good looks at Game & Watch games, so we might as well take nice looks at them now. But yeah, it folds open just like a DS, and yeah, it's kind of like you're put into a maze, and you have to get through it and disarm these bombs before the time runs out. And, if the time runs out, then you lose a life, and do that 3 times, and that's usually how you lose in a Game & Watch game. But overall, very, very nice condition. It's been in the box for forever, and the box is in super nice condition as well. So I love getting my hands on Game & Watches. I think that they're just some of the most interesting items out there in the video game world, and I love collecting them and love playing them too, because I played Game & Watch Gallery not too long ago, although with the exception of that, it's kind of hard to play Game & Watch games. I don't know if there's a Game & Watch game emulator out there. I've actually never looked for something like that. People have probably created, recreated all these games in Game Maker or something. It's not like they're very complicated, but yeah, those are Game & Watches. They are super cool to own, and they're in nice shape. They're fun games, and always happy to add more of those to my collection. But anyway, we've gone over NES, Game & Watch. What should we move on to next? Let's go on to boxed stuff, because boxed games are usually pretty cool. First boxed game is Brain Lord, and it actually has an EB Games / GameStop sticker at the top that says $7.99. That sticker is ancient. I did not get it from GameStop. I picked it up with some other things that I got. Although Brain Lord, complete in the box. Who remembers when GameStop sold Super Nintendo games? I remember back before I really got into collecting, I just wanted to, get some games that I was interested in playing, and I picked up Mario All-Stars for $9.99 at GameStop. Like, you can't, that's something that you could just never do anymore, but I always think back, and be like, yeah, GameStop used to have some pretty cool games. And you got Sky Blazer, complete in the box, and of course it doesn't focus, but you get the point. It is Sky Blazer with everything in there. And that is really awesome as well. I love my Super Nintendo games. I love my box Super Nintendo collection. It needs a better home. So people might have seen the Xbox kind of relocating that I did with those shelves. Hopefully something like that will happen with the Super Nintendo games in the future, because I don't really like how that whole area is set up right now. And if you don't know what I'm talking about as far as that area goes, I believe that's featured in part 3 of the room tour. But it hasn't changed too much since then. It's had some new games added to it, but overall, I would like to get some very nice shelves and some nice lighting in that area too. It doesn't have very nice lighting right now. But the next thing on our list is something you don't normally come across at thrift stores, yet I somehow, beat the odds. And I got some Sega 32X games complete in the box. Now, on the back, they have the scary price of $5.99. But I had a 30% off coupon, so we went crazy and even bought the golf game, because you just don't find, 32X games complete in the box very often, especially at places like Value Village, where, even though like $5.99, years ago, like I was saying at the beginning of this video, they probably would have been mixed in with the VHS tapes for like $1.99. But I still had to grab them. just because, you know, it's something you never ever see at thrift stores anymore. But let's get a better look at some of those. We have Star Wars Arcade complete in the box. Now, someone at the top wrote 32X2, and for a couple of the videos, I don't know why they had to write it on that box, which is unfortunate, but this one has 32X9 on a sticker. So, like, are those like the numbers, like the production numbers of the games? Maybe someone else had these in their collection and they were, you know, keeping track. Like, this is the second 32X game, you know, kind of like how VIC-20 games used to actually number which game it was. Even Atari did that at first. But anyway, enough rambling on about that. We have Star Wars Arcade, which I actually picked up without the box at the swap meet that I recently went to, but, you know, it's better to have it complete. We have Metalhead complete in the box. Looks like some kind of mech game, which is pretty cool. We got Motocross, which is a crazy motorcycle racing game. And the best of the lot, we have Golf. And the more specific name is Golf Magazine Presents 36 Great Holes. I'm sure they are. And yeah, 32X games are kind of neat because they just slide out like that, so you don't need to open up the box every time. I'll always be happy that, you know, Sega had the boxes to put them in. They look so nice on the shelf, despite the fact that they take up more room, so it's really hard to actually kind of, you know, display them all because they do take up a lot. I wish I had more space. I can't believe I say that. Anyway, I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of space I've somehow taken up. Anyway, let's see. So yeah, 32X games are super cool. I mean, I haven't found new 32X games out in the wild at like a thrift store in a very long time, so I had to grab all those, especially since I got the discount. What should we move on to next? Okay. A couple of GameCube things and a Wii thing, which is kind of funny. First GameCube thing is Star Wars Rebel Strike Rogue Squadron 3 limited edition preview disc, not for resale. I wonder how many people, you know, actually, like, has anyone ever listened to something that says not for resale? Like, I wonder if you tried to trade this into EB Games back in the day. They'd probably sell it, because, I mean, there was even copies of games like, I have a copy of Mario Sunshine that says not for resale on the front, because I'm assuming that probably came bundled with the GameCube. But I doubt EB Games would ever have cared if they about labels like that. But yeah, this is an interesting preview disc. It doesn't have anything in here. I don't believe it's supposed to. But yeah, we've got that. I'm not entirely sure what this came bundled with. I'm assuming if you probably pre-ordered Rogue Squadron 3, this would have come included with it. I thought that was a quite interesting thing to grab there. We also have Super Monkey Ball. But Andrew, how do you not have Super Monkey Ball for the GameCube? Well, I don't know if it's super obvious, but this one is actually sealed. It's, hopefully you can tell, you know, pretty glossy. You can maybe see on the top and bottom there. But yeah, it's the player's choice version, but I really like Super Monkey Ball. And, you know, when you're at a thrift store and you see a sealed GameCube game that you like, it's probably, you know, pretty smart to pick it up. And the last thing we have here, which I said was a Wii game, is actually Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz. Now, if I am remembering correctly, this is actually a launch day Wii title. I remember because I think I've told the story before, but, you know, some people might not have heard it. I waited out all night for the Wii. I was first in line at Walmart, got there at 2 p.m. the day before, as it was a weekend. And nothing to do that day, and I sat out all night in the blistering cold of, you know, mid-November, and it was cold where I am. I mean, there was actually snow, and it was ridiculous. I waited all night until 7 a.m. the next morning and went in there, and I'll still remember, I mean, they had like a whole table laid out. Luckily, it wasn't, you know, one of the many places that I don't think they really did it for PS4 and Xbox One or Wii U, but I remember it was a big problem in the PS3, and that generation came out. You would see the people, you know, making mad dashes when stores opened for the electronics section. That would suck, but luckily my place was smart, and they gave everyone in line a ticket, and that had a number on it, so you gave them your ticket, and they would take you to kind of the back of the store, where they had all the Wii stuff just set out nicely on a table, so you could see every single thing that they were selling that was Wii related. And yeah, this was one of the games, although all I ended up buying was, actually I might have bought, did they have points cards at the time? I know I got a points card very close to launch, but I know for sure I bought the Wii console, Twilight Princess, and a classic controller immediately, you know, that first day. I might have got a points card too, even though they didn't have anything out really at the time. They still don't have anything out really, actually. But yeah, so anyway, this was a launch game. I like Monkey Ball. Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2 are fantastic games. I haven't played too much other Monkey Ball, unfortunately, but I had a chance to pick this up for a good price, so I said, you know, why not? it's something, you know, I maybe should have picked up when the Wii was new. I don't know, anyone who's played that, let me know what it's like. I just picked that up really recently and haven't had a chance to dive into it yet. But enough of Nintendo stuff, it's time to take a break with some PlayStation stuff. And this is Dragon Valor for the PlayStation. You know, just based on the title and the image on the front, you can tell it's an RPG. And then you notice that it's 2 discs. It's like, oh, it's definitely an RPG. Actually, there were PlayStation games that were 2 discs that weren't RPGs. But, you know, those were few and far between. Normally, when it's more than 1 disc, you can assume it's an RPG on the PlayStation. But not always, but usually. But yeah, anyway, all of that jazz is in there. You got the 1 disc, the 2 disc, and the book in the other section. And I like my PS1 RPGs, despite the fact that there's just so many of them. How are you ever supposed to have time to play them all? And then the fact that I'm a completionist in my video games really hurts, because, you know, then I'm not, like, when I play a game, I'm not just playing it to beat it, then I have to try and collect everything, so I get a lot less video games played that way. Which is unfortunate, but then, I mean, I enjoy that too, so there's no point on, you know, rushing through a game and throwing it off to the side just to move on to the next one when I, you know, I could take my time, collect everything, and have fun in the process. It's, video games is a cruel world. It's just, you know, difficult to, you know, deal with sometimes. Well, with that said, I think we've taken enough of a break from Nintendo. It's time to move on to the small stack of Nintendo 64 games, which I don't collect, I mean, what am I trying to say? I don't find too many of out in the wild that I need still. 64 had, like, about 300 games. I guess it was the first, I was going to say 64-bit console. Yeah, it was the first 3D console, you know, console that really had, you know, a lot of 3D games. I guess people were just getting into the companies were, you know, just trying to, kind of figuring out how to deal with that, so it didn't have very many games at all. It only had about 300, and I have over 200, so I'm getting very close to completing that. But recently, I did find some new ones, and 64 games have very small labels, so I think we will zoom in. It's freaky. Ah, you can see me now, okay. We have Carmageddon 64. Yeah, this is a good one. Castlevania Legacy of Darkness. We have everyone's favorite Dai Katana, big sword thing. We have Turok 3. I actually did not have Turok 3. 64 had a lot of Turok games. We have Starshot Space Circus Fever. I'm sure that's absolutely radical, dudes. And the best of them all, Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness. Actually, I'm not sure if that's the best one of all. But yeah, some new 64 games. Yeah, I'm too close to the screen here. Yeah, so I don't find 64 stuff too often, so I was happy about that. Plus, just to add in a little more 64 love, we have the Super Pad 64 Plus. And the 64 is really kind of interesting. I mean, you have some people who hate the controller, and then some people who, you know, can deal with it. I don't think I've ever actually met someone who loves the Nintendo 64 controller. That doesn't usually happen. It's usually either they hate it or they can deal with it, but I don't think anyone actually really likes it. I don't know, tell me in the comments what you think. I can definitely deal with it, but I definitely like the, you know, GameCube controller and many other controllers out there much more. But yeah, the Super Pad 64 aims to improve that, except the fact that I was using it and it's not really that great. It's just, look, I mean, you can probably tell just by looking at it. It looks kind of awkward to hold. I do like the position, kind of the, you know, the thumbstick, you know, being right off to the left, and then, you know, having the buttons on the right, like a typical controller of the time. The people who really did it well is the, you know, the Hori, Nintendo 64 controllers that were only released in Japan for some sad reason, and if you want to get one, you know, your hands on one today, you're paying almost $100. It was similar design to this, but this is just kind of really weird. Yeah, but overall, in the box, complete, so I grabbed it even though it might not get much use. Yeah, Hori made some cool controllers. I've shown my, what is it called? My kind of retro GameCube controller that looks like a Super Nintendo controller. I mean, it's right there behind the glass, but I can't reach it behind the glass. That was also made by Hori. They made some really cool controllers, but, you know, none of them ever make their way over here, because North America is just that uncool. But anyway, we are almost at the end of this crazy shenanigan-filled video. The last 2 things are complete in the box and pretty neat, although none of them are probably things you, I don't know what's my train of thought there. I was going to say you'd expect to see in my videos. I mean, I guess neither of these things are things that if you for some reason had to guess what I was about to show next, you would guess, although I don't know why you would be guessing. The first thing that we have to show in this line of crazy, Andrew has no idea what he's talking about, Video Pro 2 is obviously, you know, a TV Pong thing, because I did not have enough of those in the past. Now my TV Pong video is completely outdated. Now someday, you'll have to have a look at Pong consoles again. But this one is super nice considering how old it is. You know, the box, that top corner is a little bit frayed, but otherwise the box is actually in super nice shape, and everything inside is like mint condition too. So despite the fact that I have a lot of Pong consoles, I definitely don't complain when I have the chance to, you know, grab one more. And also this next thing, which again, I don't know why you'd ever try and guess from about the show, but if you did for some reason guess this, you'd win Jeopardy or something like that. This is Dance Dance Revolution X, sealed in the box. So yeah, you know, Monkey Ball's not the only thing sealed today, and I don't really see, you know, much Dance Dance Revolution anymore. I know back in the day, just the game itself, I remember seeing Dance Dance Revolution X in the store. I think it was like $39.99. So I wonder what exactly was the retail price for, you know, everything with it. Probably almost, you know, at least $60. I've never really been too into Dance Dance Revolution, you know, just because I am the worst dancer you shall ever meet. But I mean, it's definitely not a series you really see these days. I mean, Guitar Hero, Rock Band, I mean, I guess everything in the music kind of world just died down after they were pumping new games out like once or twice a year. It was crazy there for a while. You know, there's like never a week where my friends were like, come on, come over and play Rock Band with us. And I'm like, we do this every weekend. And then it's just, yeah, the music scene was like up there, and then it just kind of died out. It was like the biggest fad of the universe. I mean, the games are still cool, but they're just not pumping them out like they used to. And I can't say I complain too much about that. And one final thing. It's not the most exciting thing. It's just one of those crazy old arcade sticks that you sometimes see lying around. It's the deluxe competition stick made by Archer. Hopefully not the same Archer who's that crazy secret agent guy on the cartoon TV thing. But it says that it is compatible with Atari 2600, Sears Video Arcade, Atari 400/800 computer, Commodore VIC-20, Commodore 64, and NEC PC 6001 computer. So that just goes to show you how old it is. So, I mean, it's not the most exciting item, but I think it's kind of funny to have something that ancient complete in the box. And with that said, I think we have gone through everything. It's like I can catch my breath now. No, I don't know, I ramble on so much. Hopefully people enjoyed that. And yeah, we had some of everything. We had some NES games, Super Nintendo, actually, yeah, we did have Super Nintendo games in the box. Not loose, though, but we had 64 games loose. We had some Wii, GameCube. Yeah, we did, like, all the generations of Nintendo here, except for Wii U. Even Game & Watch games. And we had 32X, Dance Dance Revolution. You know, no video is complete without that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this ridiculousness. Oh, man. Okay, so with that said, that is what I've picked up recently. Hope you enjoyed that. And thanks for watching. So yeah, hope to see you next time for something different. So thanks, and see you later.